The Alash movement played a key role in forming early Kazakh political identity. It raises the question, was Alash a national modernization project or just an elite initiative? This issue is relevant because it reveals how his first political leaders tried to modernize society while facing social and colonial constraints.
While Alash movement aimed to modernize Kazakh society and achieve national autonomy, it was primarily led by a small circle of educated elites. Alihan Bakirkhanov, Ahmed Baitursunov, Marshak Abdulatov, who believed progress could be achieved through enlightenment, education, and culture rather than mass political action. The program of the Alash Party outlined 10 reform sections, including education, land, and governance, calling for universal secular schooling and self-administration's quantitative notes. The movement's leadership emerged from the national intelligentsia and sought to guide the people toward modern statehood through knowledge and law. Marshak Abdulatov reinforced this mission, writing, "Күзіңді аш, оян қазақ, көтер басты, өткізбей қараңғыда бекер жасты." This line symbolizes the Alash leaders' call to awaken the spiritual and intellectual potential of the Kazakh nation rather than incite political revolution. In line with Chatterjee's theory of the inner and outer domains of nationalism, the Alash intellectuals claimed a cultural sphere of sovereignty through language, education, and press, using these tools to strengthen identity while adopting modern political institutions. Together, these sources reveal that Alash was less a mass uprising than an elite-driven modernization project. The intelligentsia envisioned national renewal through culture, education, and law, a transformation led by minds rather than numbers.
Modernization goal of the Alash Party was aimed to achieve both cultural and political autonomy for the Kazakh people.
However, these aspirations were limited by the social-political reliance of the early 20th century, especially the colonial dependence that shaped the Kazakh society. The Alash Party program placed education and self-governance at the core of modernization. The leaders promoted secular schools, native language education, and equal rights under law. Yet, as Kolgedeev notes, the activities of the Udzyaoğulları, the national intelligentsia, mostly reached the educated elite, not the common people. Their reforms were visionary but remained confined to urban intellectual circles rather than rural Kazakh communities. The Alash intellectuals worked within this inner domain, defending Kazakh identity through culture and education. Majan Shumabayev's poem Jatur powerfully reflects this struggle for awakening. Other nations rise to the skies, unlocking progress through knowledge, while our Kazakh people lie idle, not thinking of the future. Through these lines, Shumabayev criticizes stagnation and urges enlightenment, showing the Alash vision of national renewal. As Kolgedeev wrote, the Kazakh intellectuals recognized the backwardness of their nation and sought to awaken it through knowledge. Yet modernization came from above, from the educated elite, and thus failed to reach the Alash leaders dreamed of a modern, educated Kazakh nation, free in spirit, if not yet in politics.
Between 1913 and 1917, Alash intellectuals built the cultural core of modern Kazakh nation of the inner domain, language, schools, and the press. In February 1914, the newspaper Kazakh was launched in Orenburg, turning it into a platform for Kazakh orthography, secular curricula, and civic vocabulary. At the first Kazakh Congress, delegates resolved to form the Alash Party. The party program codified native language education, freedom on the press, and local self-government. The second Congress proclaimed the Alash autonomy and the Alash Orda government, but the movement's social base remained narrow. Teachers, lawyers, journalists centered in urban and semi-urban hubs. Symptom but Chatterjee frameworks Alash decisively shaped the spiritual domain of nationhood, while lacking the material instruments, state administrations, mass organization to mobilize the countryside at scale. This is why Alash function is a catalyst of identity rather than a full mass movement, even as its concept later diffused more widely.
Scholars differ in how they interpret the Alash movement's character. Soviet historians often described Alash as a bourgeois top-down initiative, arguing that its leader represented the interests of the emerging Kazakh elite rather than the working people. Such scholars emphasize that Alash Orda lacked broad popular support and served primarily as an intellectual circle. By contrast, post-Soviet scholars, including Kolgedeev and contemporary researchers at Kazakh universities, reinterpret Alash as a national awakening movement that laid the foundation for modern Kazakh statehood. They argue that its emphasis on education, culture, and self-governance fostered a shared national consciousness rather than class division. In my view, Alash was both in elite-led and modernization project. Guided by intellectuals such as Bakikhanov, it sought to reform society through knowledge and culture, not revolution. Azulatov wrote Uyan Kazakh, reflecting a vision of awakening the people through education. The Alash intelligentsia built a cultural domain of sovereignty within colonial constraints, using schools, language, and brain to connect elite ideas with a wider national renewal. In conclusion, Alash was a modernization project with national ambition but elite leadership. Alash intelligentsia forged the inner foundations of nationhood, language reform, secular schooling, and a public press such as Kazakh Ekap, Partik program, and Alash Orda. Yet without the outer instruments of mass politics and state power, its reach into rural society remained limited. Even so, Alash seeded the vocabulary, institutions, and aspirations that later generations would scale.